The United Kingdom's impending departure from the European Union presents major challenges for Ireland as well as for the United Kingdom. This presentation provides a brief introduction to some of the issues. The United Kingdom is one of Ireland's largest export destinations and its largest source of imports. In particular sectors, the relationship is even more significant. Ireland imports more than 4/5 of its oil and gas requirements from the UK. Although Ireland and the United Kingdom are closely linked through the European Union, their relationship with each other is even closer as a result of the common travel area, the number of citizens of each country residing in the other, and the rights accorded to them, and historic and cultural links. Depending on the form it takes, Brexit may disrupt the economic and cultural relationship between the United Kingdom and Ireland. Brexit also threatens economic and cultural exchange within the island of Ireland and disruption of the complex governmental relationships amongst Ireland, Northern Ireland and the United Kingdom. Both the United Kingdom and the European Union have committed themselves to upholding the Good Friday Agreement and to avoiding the creation of a hard border within the island of Ireland, but it has not been specified how this can be achieved. In considering the position of Ireland, much depends on the form that Brexit takes. It will be easier to meet the challenges of Brexit if the United Kingdom remains within the customs union and the single market in the long term. It will be harder if the United Kingdom withdraws from both. We still don't know what the final relationship between the United Kingdom and the European Union will be, but the United Kingdom government's negotiating position has been that it intends to leave both the customs union and the single market, but also wants to have an ambitious and comprehensive free trade agreement for the future. Conversely, the European Union position has been that a non-member that does not undertake the obligations of membership of the European Union cannot have the same rights and enjoy the same benefits as a member, and that the four freedoms of the single market are indivisible. States have to accept the whole package. Although negotiations are now well underway, the two sides remain far apart. The Prime Minister Theresa May recently proposed in a speech in Florence on 22nd September a 2-year period of implementation during which much of the existing European Union framework in trade and other areas will continue to apply. That proposal may well be accepted by the European Union, but it remains unclear what the final agreement will be. The worst-case scenario for Ireland, leaving aside the possibility of a disorderly exit, is that the United Kingdom leaves both the customs union and the single market. If that happened, what might the consequences be? The most serious concern is that Brexit might undermine the Good Friday Agreement. I will not say a lot about that as we discussed the issues at length in our Belfast seminar, and you can see the video presentations on those issues elsewhere on this website. But it is important to note that the issues of Northern Ireland, the peace process, and the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland play a crucial role in the negotiations. The European Union insisted on a phased approach to negotiations, in which sufficient progress was made on 3 key issues before the talks could move on to what the terms of a future trade deal might be. Those were Britain's financial settlement, the rights of citizens, and the Irish border. On 28 September 2017, after the most recent round of negotiations, Michel Barnier, the European Union's chief negotiator, said that we were far from being at that stage yet, and it could be weeks or even months before the European Union agreed that sufficient progress had been made to allow broadening of the talks to the future trade agreement. So, resolving these issues will have an impact on the prospects for an agreed final settlement of the UK's future relationship with the European Union. I'm going to discuss several related topics: the border and the common travel area, the customs union and the single market, before moving on to the question of governance. So first, the border. The border between Ireland and Northern Ireland is an international border that is, for practical purposes, all but invisible. That is the result of 3 things: the common travel area, which allows freedom of movement within our islands, our common membership of the European Union, with the freedom of movement and other rights which flow from membership, and the peace process. European Union membership requires free movement for workers and other classes of persons and free trade across the border. The Common Travel Area, which comprises the United Kingdom, Ireland, the Isle of Man and the Channel Isles, means that there is no immigration control between the United Kingdom and Ireland. That benefits third country nationals as well as European Union citizens. And the improved security situation has meant that physical security measures at the border are no longer necessary. Next, customs. Unless a trade agreement is reached, industrial goods and agricultural products exported from the United Kingdom to Ireland will be subject to the European Union's external tariffs. For example, the 35% tariff on dairy exports. It seems unlikely that the European Union would agree to tariff-free access to EU markets for the United Kingdom's exports if the UK insists on leaving the customs union. Similarly, exports from Ireland to the United Kingdom will, in the absence of a new agreement with the EU, be subject to UK-imposed tariffs. This will impose substantial additional costs on businesses engaged in cross-border trade. In addition, if there are customs checks at the Northern Ireland border, or at any of the ports moving goods and products between the two countries, that will impose delays and further costs. These additional burdens will affect not only Irish exports to the United Kingdom, but also Ireland's exports to the European Union, much of which are transported through the United Kingdom to continental Europe. In its position papers, the United Kingdom government has made several proposals, including having either a highly streamlined customs arrangement between the United Kingdom and the European Union that leaves as few additional requirements on UK-EU trade as possible, possibly including some technology-based solutions to make it easier to comply with whatever customs procedures there are, or a new customs partnership with the European Union which aligns approaches to the customs border in a way that removes the need for a UK-EU customs border. Both approaches seem to be fraught with difficulties, either of persuading the other member states to agree or of practical implementation. So at this stage, we do not yet have reason to be confident that a frictionless border within the island of Ireland can actually be maintained. Now for the single market. Many areas of economic activity are regulated by the European Union, which means that there are common European rules or frameworks on, for example, product safety and labelling, pharmaceuticals, animal welfare, data protection, environmental protection, provision of professional services, and many aspects of workers' rights, including discrimination and transfers of businesses to new ownership. After Brexit, in the absence of a new agreement with the European Union, the United Kingdom would be free to set its own standards in these areas. That might create obstacles to trade between the United Kingdom and Ireland which do not now exist, which could be economically damaging to both countries. Also, if the United Kingdom does have different standards, then there will have to be measures to prevent exports which do not comply with European Union rules from crossing the border. The next thing I want to talk about is All-Ireland cooperation. There are a number of areas where there is extensive cross-border cooperation between the United Kingdom and Ireland. There are, for example, 6 North-South implementation bodies which are jointly funded by the Irish and Northern Ireland administrations. They include Waterways Ireland, the Food Safety Promotion Board, and the Trade and Business Development Body. In the private sector, albeit strongly influenced by government regulation, there is in effect an all-Ireland electricity industry. Brexit does not make continuation of these forms of cooperation impossible, but it will make maintaining their effectiveness more difficult. My final topic is governance. The issues I've already discussed are policy questions, but there are also important governance questions. The Belfast Agreement provided for the setting up of a British-Irish Council whose purposes are to promote the harmonious and mutually beneficial development of the totality of relationships among the people of these islands. The membership of the Council comprises representatives from the Irish Government, United Kingdom Government, Scottish Government, Northern Ireland Executive, Welsh Government and the Government of the Isle of Man, Jersey and Guernsey. The Belfast Agreement states that the Council normally will operate by consensus, and when deciding on common policies or actions, it operates by agreement of all members participating in the relevant policies or actions. The other East-West institution set up under the Belfast Agreement is the British-Irish Intergovernmental Conference. According to the agreement, it should deal with the totality of relationships and establish a standing British-Irish Intergovernmental Conference, which would bring together the British and Irish governments to promote bilateral cooperation at all levels on all matters of mutual interest within the competence of both governments. There are regular meetings of the British-Irish Council, but the Intergovernmental Conference was last held in 2007, and no plans have been announced to hold a meeting of the conference in the immediate future. Having said that, the two governments do meet regularly in other contexts, and less formal discussions are going on behind the scenes relating to Brexit. But it is difficult to tell from information in the public domain how well communications between the Irish and the United Kingdom governments are working, and how the Irish-UK dialogue and the UK-EU dialogue are linking to one another. It does seem that there is a long way to go before we know how the challenges that Brexit presents for Ireland will be resolved. This video presentation has concentrated on the difficulties. What we need now are solutions.